All right, and we're back. Again, we don't really leave. We just boop the video. But anyway, doesn't matter. Um, all right, so faunas and human are compatible in a biological standpoint kind of way. And I'm guessing you can think of it as the faunus having the dominant gene. Because if you mix faunus with human, you end up with a high probability chance of faunus baby of the same trait of the faunus parent. That's very interesting, and also extremely interesting the fact if you mix, um, I guess you can call it faunus traits, different faunus traits, you end up with a completely random faunus child. Now, that's very interesting because it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how is it possible that there is this random gene that that has all possible traits? I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself. Like, all right, so the faunus gene apparently is like, I don't know, encapsulated with the primary property, right? Let's say you're a wolf faunus or whatever, or a cat faunus like Blake. You have cat as the primary um, type of gene in it. But if you were to like look deeper into the genetic code, you actually have traits of all types of faunuses that are out there. I get it. There's not that many answers. Scientists are still trying to figure things out. But that's very interesting that if two different types of faunus were to biologically get together and have an offspring, then they would just have a roll of the dice. Whatever happens will happen. You don't know what you're gonna get. So good luck with that. Very interesting. Very interesting. And so they've been around since man, maybe even before man. Um, but because they were different, they were prosecuted. Now, my question is, why was man the dominant species if faunus have these amazing feats? They have binoculars, they have claws, you know. I get it that man is ingenious, excuse me, and he can create tools and they discovered dust. I get that. And maybe that's actually the reason why man had the advantage over the faunus. But then again, so are they saying that faunus absolutely had no idea how to use dust or create weapons because they always show that faunus with the bow, you know? Um, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. And also the faunus, when they fought, they defeated the general's army and they captured him, because they had the advantage. So I'm not sure. I don't understand how humans with animal capabilities and traits were still subpar as far as footing when it comes to humans. Now, we can think of different random things, for example, the X-Men, but the difference between the X-Men and this, maybe it is a difference in numbers. Maybe it is the fact that there's more humans than there are faunus, and perhaps that strength in numbers is what allows them to like overrun and chase out and hunt down other fellow human faunus. So that could be a possibility. I'm trying to find logic behind the things that are being presented so that I can better understand them. I've always had this thing where I don't really there's back in my military days when we went to A school, I took a course on electronics. I became an electronics technician. Let me just side story here. And anyway, and in the classes, in the courses, they were explaining electrical theory, current theory, electronics, and how things are supposed to operate and work. Um, but it was hard to understand because it's all theory. No, we can't really open up with an electrical circuit and look inside the copper conduit and see all the electrons flowing through it. I mean, we could try, but it's not practical. We would need an electron microscope and so on. But anyway, I am so getting off topic. That's not the point that I want to drive home here. What I'm trying to say is that since everything was theory, it was electrical theory, um, direct current, alternating current, and so on and so forth. It was all theory, which meant that you can't visually see it. You can do experimentation with it, but you can't you can't do the word I'm looking for is when you, I don't want to say experimentation, but it's theory because it's all written in paper. You measure things, you take measurements, you take values, and you have an idea of what it would be in theory. So when they would try to explain how resistors work, how capacitors keep a charge on one of the plates and then creates the difference in voltage, and all of these different things, it was sometimes hard for people to understand. And what the instructors ended up doing was just saying like, "Oh, all you got to do is just press that I believe button, just press the I believe button." And I've always had this thing in me where I refuse to just press the I believe button because the way I see things, if I can't grab something and basically turn it inside out and know how to put it back together again, I feel as if I don't understand it. Like, yeah, it does this, but why? Well, it just does. I've never been able to accept that as a personal trait of mine, I guess you can call it, or one of my quirks. I don't push that I believe button. Like, but wait a moment. If voltage is discharging through here, why is there still a voltage value over here? Well, it's because of the feed off or whatever. Just press the I believe button. And I refused. I always like no, because if I press that I believe button, I'm building on uneven and shaky territory. So I need to actually be able to fully grasp why it is that it behaves that way, why it is that it does the things that it does. Because otherwise, if I were to try to explain to somebody else, oh, but why does it do that? I don't know, just press that I believe button. And I can't do that. So with that in mind, let's come back to where we left off really quick, and I apologize for that. But when things are presented to me like this, my mind starts looking for the understanding of it, for the logic of it, for the making sense of it, for the ability to be able to tear it apart inside out and then put it back together again and be able to fully grasp how it is that it works. So that's why I'm trying to find out why the humans had the advantage over people that have, natural abilities. Um, and and the things that I'm thinking of right now. But yeah, so I'm gonna I'm gonna sum it up to probably it was just strength in numbers. There were more humans than there were Faunus, and because of that, the strength in numbers were able to overrun Faunus. and have the advantage, so to say. Did Faunus know how to use dust? Probably. I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say they came across it in one form or another, and they were able to use it. Maybe not as effectively as humans, because again, hardship creates consequences for development. And we saw that in the village, in the kingdom of Vacuo. Vacuo. I think it's Vacuo. We saw that in the kingdom of Vacuo, where comfortable life, no hardship, led them to not um, figure out ways to fix things, fix problems that they weren't facing. And when other kingdoms came by, they're like, hey, don't mind if we do. And there wasn't much that they could do. So, probably similar concept. Yeah, they're better prepared in personal self combat, but maybe they are able to face off against Grimm using their claws and using other traits, animal traits that they might have. And they never sought the need to seek better tools, better equipment. That could be a possibility, actually. So maybe they did know about dust. Maybe they didn't know about dust. Um, maybe they knew about weapons. Maybe they didn't really care about weapons because they could use their own traits. So it's a possibility. So with that being said, we continue on with the next part of the Faunus, which is the separation. Just because they were different and rumors and fear and ignorance are very, very dangerous things when it comes to anything. Because if it's something that we don't know, if it's something that we don't understand, if it's something that doesn't make sense to us, or different, or we just don't know how it works, for some reason, automatically, we start expecting the worst from it. Unless it's pretty obvious that it's not so bad. But, you see a human, and then the human has animal traits. Sharp claws, sharp teeth, horns, or whatever you want to call it, or not whatever you want to call it, whatever other trait this faunus might have. Immediately, the first impression is, what is that? That's weird. It's freaking, I don't know, a mythical experiment gone wrong, or any other thing that can justify something that looks really strange and scary in a way. And you come up with these ideas and these stories and these things. Oh, well, how does that happen? Well, probably, this creature infected a human and corrupted him, and he became animalistic, and oh my gosh, that's a destructive beast that'll consume your soul because he'll absorb your body and make your body a part of him, and there's not much you can do about it. And these stories of fear then start spreading into ignorance, into people that don't know, and they take others' word at dollar value, and just starts getting worse and worse, and then ideas start being created, and so many different things, so many different scenarios that we've been presented with these things in our world and in other series, shows, entertainment kind of thing. We've been presented with these concepts of how fearing the unknown can lead to hating it, and then later on leads to corrupting the ability to be able to receive from that unknown because your mind has already been made up. You already decided what it was and how it should be treated. And therefore, it just creates more problems, honestly. It just creates more issues. So, so that started to happen in this world as well. You don't know something, you don't understand something, you start talking bad about it, you start creating these concepts and these ideas of things that you don't know and what you think could be, and then you start talking to somebody else about it and they believe you, and then they start spreading it around and it just turns to crap. And so unfortunately they were prosecuted and they were chased out, hunted, and terrible stuff actually. How can you not like cat ears? Come on. um, but but these were the events that happened for a while until at one point, um, in a village, there were Faunus there and humans as well. Perhaps they're like in different parts of the village. I'm guessing. I'm trying to make sense, trying to understand it. But if things were bad, then probably they were hiding in the. I don't know where they were. They were out of sight, out of mind, basically. And Grim came down upon them, and humans were trying to do what they could. And when the humans were probably facing difficulty, the Faunus stepped out of the shadows, and they're like, "Hey, don't worry, we'll help you. Just give me some stuff, or don't worry, we'll organize my stuff." And everybody worked together, and huzzah, it was great. Hey, you guys are not so bad. Actually, those teeth of yours and those claws of yours came in really handy. Thank you for your help, or whatever. And step in the right direction, but only for that village. So probably that village might have been the starting point, I guess, for I don't want to say education, but for a better understanding, for like, let's say other humans come visit the town and they see Faunus and they're like, "Oh my God, what's that Faunus doing there?" And they're like, "What? He's just, delivering the newspaper, or he's just, helping out with planting or rebuilding the town, or he's just walking to his house, or he's just, you know, delivering his merchandise to the inn, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, whatever the Faunus might be doing." Um, and then the new human might be like, "Oh well, isn't that dangerous? Don't they consume your soul?" And they're like, "No, of course not. You know, we thought that too in the beginning, but it turned out that they're actually really helpful." However, there was a point that they mentioned in which the fawn is kind of like were exploited in a way because of their abilities, and they show, I guess, a monkey fawn as, building and hanging upside down and hammering and doing things, which I totally understand. I mean, if you have abilities and skills that you're able to put to good use, I say go for it. I think it's great. But when others lean on you to do these things that only you can do, it's a gray area. It really is. It's a gray area because if you are the only one that's able to do that because of your animal traits, then I personally don't think it's that big of a deal if you're the one that's always in the high parts installing different high things because others can't do what you can do. Granted, I would try to find a way to help alleviate the tasks placed upon you by coming up with ideas or concepts to allow others to maybe have a structure up there where they can build, or maybe a ladder, or maybe a platform, or a scaffold, or whatever you want to call it, if you're going to be working on the high areas. If you're thinking of another example, if you have a bull trait, for That's the best example I could come up with right now. But if you have a bull trait and you have this superior strength of the bull, you know, if you have this amazing strength and you're able to do these amazing feats and push these heavy cards, and you don't mind helping out that way, by all means, I don't see a problem with that. Me as a human, I would try to figure out a way to alleviate the task for you by either figuring out a way how to motorize the cart or by making the cart more frictionless, new technology that allows it to float so that it's not so heavy for you to push around, and maybe even allow maybe smaller loads for humans that don't have that strength, or for other faunas that don't have that strength, you know. But the problem usually tends to happen with comfort, with commodity. Once you find something that works and you kind of like stagnate there, then you stop improving. You stop climbing up the scale of progress because you found a solution. It seems to be working. You know, if it ain't broken, don't fix it kind of thinking. And you stop improving. You stop making things better. So with the Faunus, that's probably something that might have happened. They depended on them, and they actually forced them to do these tasks, to do these labors that were just falling on top of them, so to say. And then I kind of lost track a little bit here. I was thinking of something else, but afterwards, the Great War happened. And after the Great War, they allowed the Faunus to have their continent. I think that's how the order was, if I remember correctly. So, what was it? Atlas and Minstrel versus Vale and Vacuo, I believe it was. That's interesting. I wonder what the Great War was about. I think it was about the color thing, right? Yeah, the Great War about colors, and then in retaliation they named their children after colors. Got it. Curious. But, so, the Faunus got their own continent. Like, we'll give you a continent, you can do what you want with it, you know, have at it. And it is questionable, because does that mean that they weren't allowed to be outside of menagerie? Does that mean that, well, again, it's questionable. Okay, yeah, you have your own continent. That continent's for you to do whatever you feel like doing. You can call that your hometown. So now you have a hometown. And yeah, you're probably able to just travel around. But because they have a bad reputation, there's still a couple of things that don't make sense to me yet. But I'm sure I'll find out the answer soon enough, as I keep watching more RWBY. So, yeah. So I'll leave it here for now. Very interesting. Very interesting, the genetic aspect and the biological aspect of the Faunus. I think that was a bit enlightening. We still don't know the origin story because, as Crow said, there's a certain point in history where things start to get a little bit fuzzy, you know. No amount of alcohol can make you forget that scene. That's good. That's really funny. So yeah. So let's leave it here for now. Yeah. So, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate everything that you do. All of your support, all of your comments, just everything that you guys do. It's really great. It's really heartwarming, and it just makes me keep making more stuff for you guys and sharing these episodes with you, because it's really enjoyable. I'm having a great time. So with that being said, thanks. I really mean it. Thanks. And until next time, take care. Bye bye.